Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 68 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts Turtle, Mike, and me, Sean. Thank you for joining us today. We have all come back from the anime convention Tekko 2024. We all did a stint there. I volunteered and helped my wife with her vendor booth, and luckily, Mike and Turtle got to attend as attendees.
Woo!
Woohoo! I was gonna say if Sean sounds exhausted tonight, that is why.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for
But
all of your hard work, Sean.
um, we did it. Another one is in the books. I've been volunteering for something like 13 or 14 years to the organization. I know a lot about it and its history, but not nearly as much as some of those guys I talked to over the weekend who always talk about the good old days from before I was there. Uh, this week we're calling a slight audible. We're taking a small break from Kaiju number 8 in My Hero Academia to discuss just anime cons in general. You'll notice that sometimes we have things like our Toonami review or a year-end review or occasional banter blitz where we talk about one series. So today we're going, away from the series again and just talking about some other topics. Let's get started. So this year, Tekko, it's an anime convention located in Pittsburgh. This year, we broke the 10,000 mark again for the first time since the pandemic. That 10,000 includes attendees, staff, vendors. So you can't say 10,000 attendees, but 10,000 per people certainly attended the convention. So the significance of that number is that in 2019, that was Tekko's goal, right? Hit 10,000. If we felt like we could hit 10,000 people consistently, we could make, we consider the convention a success. Now that we're back to that number, it's looking to the future and hoping to grow. Tekko 2024 is in July, and unfortunately, we used to be in April, but the convention center booked all of April and forced us to move the month. So April was I had mixed feelings about the April versus July move because April, sometimes it has snowed during Tekko, which is disgusting. And but July, sometimes it's boiling hot. You get there, and it's 90 degrees, and you have a line of people waiting outside to get in. They're sweating in their cosplay. So it's difficult to say which one's better. But the part that hurts them the most is that Otakon is within two to 3 weeks of Tekko, and if you are a regular con goer, a lot of times people pick Otakon over Tekko. You may ask, what does Otakon have to offer? Well, Otakon's attendance is sky high. It's through the roof. It's in DC, which isn't far from Pittsburgh. So a lot of people opt to, even Pittsburghers will opt to not go to Tekko and go to Otakon instead if they can only choose one. You say, well, why would you go there? They say, I don't know. I have a bunch of friends who go there. And that's it. Sometimes just going with people you like is the reason to attend an anime convention. So some thoughts I had on Tekko this year. Uh, let's go with oh, we had an issue with the convention center. There was an issue on Thursday where they wouldn't let people in because they had some contractors working on the roof or the ceiling, and it delayed Tekko from allowing people to enter the convention. And that was kind of like the first big hiccup of the weekend. I have some behind the scenes knowledge, and but I don't necessarily share some of that information with everyone because I don't know. Not everyone needs to know what goes on behind the scenes at anime convention, but if anyone here has ever done events running, uh, it's insane how many things can go right or wrong when you fly in this many guests. I think I saw the guest list. Oh my gosh, there had been over 20 people on the list. And then when that Microsoft issue happened and the flights were delayed, there were guests who did not make it on the day they were supposed to, and that caused some real problems. So there's some kind of interesting issues you see behind the scenes at an anime convention. Um, there were some positives, right? Number working as a volunteer, there are people you see once a year pretty much at that event, but you still feel like you're friends with them. Like sometimes you don't remember their name or they don't remember your name, but like you remember them, and because you both been volunteering for so long, you just kind of like enjoy seeing them, even if you, you only see them once or twice a year, which is kind of fun. So if if you want to volunteer for Techo, they do a dinner where the band plays at the end, and maybe some DJs come and do a set. And if you work 18 hours, you can you can go to that dinner. So that's pretty good. And if you work 12 hours, at the very least, you get credit for volunteering, and you get a they call it a comp badge or compensation badge, where you get to bring a friend for free. So 12 hours of volunteering spread out over the course of a weekend, plus you get to bring a friend for free, is a small price to pay. So if you want to volunteer for Techo, keep an eye out on the website. They put a staff application up. Let's see. So some of the highlights: I spent a large amount of time in the dealer's room, and in addition to the dealer's room, uh, my wife, through you hear us plug sometimes at the end here, the Deepman Files podcast. The Deepman Files had a booth at Techo this year. We invest heavily into it because number one, we like the con. So because we like the con, we are willing to, kind of like pay for a table even if we don't make our money back. Number two, it's really hard because sometimes we're mostly there to get social media followers and people just like subscribe and listen to the podcast. In addition to selling the books that my wife sells, we wrote a Demon Files RPG. That's an RPG surrounding ghost hunting. My wife also has two books that take place in the Demon Files universe, and the podcast actually takes place between books 1 and 2. You don't have to read the books to like the podcast, and vice versa, but it's it certainly enhances the experience. So her booth did okay. She was hoping to have her third book out by then, and she didn't. Later this fall, she's releasing a tabletop RPG called Split Second, which is based on time loops. So that'll be fun to check out as well. You can check out more on the Deepman Files by googling the Deepman Files, Deittman. We have a website, thedeepmanfiles.com. Check that out if you want to know more, or reach out to us on social media. Um, and let me know what you think. So yeah, Dealer's Room did well. I saw the artists cleaning house. Very big year in my opinion for artists. They were a lot of them were doing very well. Really big sales. One of the problems I have with the dealers is always that when you walk up to a dealer, just stand right in front of the booth and look up the exact same item on Amazon.com. And if it costs $10 less on Amazon, there's no way you can justify buying it from a dealer, right? So I don't know. Uh, so that's kind of one of the funny things you run into. But there was some good stuff. Check out our Instagram. We've been posting pictures of our hauls this year from the dealer's room. I have not posted mine yet. We also did a few pack openings. We bought some random packs from one of the dealers of various card games, and we decided to open them on camera. So we have a few shorts up on YouTube for that. I'm gonna hand it over to Turtle or Mike right now. Guys, give me your thoughts on Techo.
So I can't speak to the April Techos, Sean, but for how hot it was in Pittsburgh this past weekend during Techo, they did a really great job keeping the convention center nice and cool. So that was nice. Our friend that we went with might have said it was too cold. I would disagree with that statement.
But I have to say, it's one of those interesting things, Mike. I'm glad you said that because there are a lot of things where people blame the con for, um, that are the fault of the convention center. For example, like letting people in late on Thursday was the convention center's fault and not the fault of the con. But people would go and be like, "Ugh, I can't believe they opened the con late." You know, beyond our control. At the same time, if the AC had not been working very well and it had been blazing hot in there, people would have blamed the con. They'd been like, "I don't like Techo; it's too hot." Oh, it's not Tekko's fault that the convention center can't handle the AC. Now they did, but I always think it's very interesting when it comes to blaming the con for things that go wrong. That people will really often blame the con when it's beyond their control.
The other thing that I noticed, and it was part of keeping the convention center cold and or cool, was the lighting. It felt much darker in there this year than previous years, and it turns out that they had some, not tarps, but window, like, screen blockers up on the roof of the convention center to keep the sun out, to stop it from being so hot, which really darkened the convention center. It felt way later the entire time while we were there because of how dark it was. Luckily, it didn't really affect looking at the art in the artist alley, so, like, that was good, because it could have went very poorly very quickly because of that.
Absolutely, I agree. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm typically cold in general all the time, so I don't mind a little heat. But yeah, I mean, I thought the AC was, just the right amount, and thanks to the shade coverings they had over the windows. Yeah, it was a little darker, but there was enough lighting that you could see, and it did keep the heat out. So I was comfortable, surprisingly.
One bummer was that there were less vendors this year than previous years, which that sort of stunk, but the vendors that were there had a really nice selection of art and figures and other things for sale.
I think like every year, there's always a lot of cosplay and things along that nature. Which that's not something that I'm into, but it's always cool to see. Be like, okay, you've got like outfits and you've got accessories and you've got this, and I find it interesting to see, even though I don't partake in the cosplay myself. So it's always neat just to kind of glance and be like, well, what are you guys selling here? What are you selling here? So there, might have been a smaller number, but there's always a good variety from year to year that I see.
Speaking of cosplay, saw some great free run cosplay. Turtle, you even pointed out a couple oobles from free run.
I think there were 2 Oobles that I saw, which completely shocked me. I loved it. I was like, "Ooble, such an interesting character to cosplay," and, obviously, she's got some traction with fans that, I saw 2 people at least dress up as her, so very cool.
Saw some senshis from Delicious in Dungeon, so that was great.
There was a
Speak
handful of those.
Speaking of, a lot of great Delicious in Dungeon art.
There was some great art, a lot of great art across the board, but, some really killer free run art and some killer Delicious in Dungeon art we saw.
I think we didn't see much. We didn't see any Kaiju number 8 cosplay, and we really didn't see any figures, but I think that's just because of how new this show is still.
That's kinda what I think as well, being that it's relatively new. I think we saw, um
I saw one Kafka figure.
yeah, 1 Kafka
Yeah.
figure, and that was it.
What I noticed was, for how popular My Hero is, I didn't see a ton of My Hero cosplay or art for that matter.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just, people are checking out other things, but, there was not a whole lot of My Hero stuff this year.
My problem with Artist Sally, speaking of the art, was that it was I feel like it was very Nintendo centric. Like I saw a ton of just like Pokemon and like Mario slash Smash Brothers type of characters. Um, but like as far as some of the actual anime goes, like I feel like there was a distinct lack of. It sounds odd, but like anime art.
I will agree that there was a lot of Pokemon stuff everywhere this year, which was a lot higher than last year from what I recall.
But I think the problem is it sells. People just love Pokemon that much. It's the greatest selling franchise of all time.
It's true. I enjoy Pokemon myself, but I was still a little shocked as to how much Pokemon this year it was everywhere.
I believe we brought it up last year with how much horny art there was. And there was way less of it this year.
There was, which I'm
Yeah, I was a
okay
little
with.
disappointed. Opposite opinions there.
Yeah, I'm okay without all the horny art, but there was definitely less. There was a lot last year.
Oh, speaking of horny, they had the 18 and up rooms again at the dealers. Same two as last year. Uh, the hentai hut in Oni-chan's hentai room or something like that. Uh, we didn't go in. I was actually gonna go in one because I went in one last year. I was gonna go in, but there was a line, and I was like, "There's no way in heck I'm waiting in a line to go like the hentai hut. It's not
Yeah,
happening." So I just didn't go in because I didn't really want to go in that bad. I would have done it for the laughs. Oh, with the figures, yeah, we could talk about the figures. Yeah, as usual, there's so much One Piece out there. It's like everywhere. Um,
yeah, for
Turns
sure.
out it's pretty popular. Who would have thought?
I mean, the anime's only been running since 1999.
And one of the things One Piece has going for it, though, is that it's just like the figures are affordable.
That's the one thing that I love about a lot of these companies that make these figures is sure you'll see these, $100, $300, $700 statues. And then they have the affordable ones, 30, $35. Heck yeah, sign me up for those. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, but when you guys came, you mostly spent your time in the dealer's room. A little bit in the gaming room, but
We
mostly in
s-
the dealer's room.
yeah, we spent a little time in the gaming room, which again, I'm a gamer, so I mean, it's always fun to check out the like arcade stations that are brought in, some of which are like from Japan, so you see some stuff you don't typically see, especially like in the US. There's not a lot of arcades anywhere to be found. So it's always cool to see that. And of course, local game shops are bringing in card games, board games. There's some like retro video game sellers selling the games and consoles, which is always fun to look at, check out some pricing, see if you find a cool deal. But I think definitely spent most of the time in the dealer's room, which I always just love walking the floor and seeing what's what. And of course, buying lots of artwork.
I was gonna say, Turtle, I think you bought the most between the three of us.
I
Sean, you might
probably did.
Sean, you might have purchased a little bit more, but you were also there for all 3 days.
Yeah, I was there for all 3 days. I could really scope out the lay of the land.
You knew where the hot ticket items were.
Yeah, and our friend Dan was able to absolutely point out where everything was for a lot of people. So yeah, but yeah, I knew where some of the good stuff was, and this was one of the years where I actually saw like things. There were a few things that actually like sold out on Friday that you couldn't get your hands on Saturday. So it is. People ask like, is it really worth it to like rush to the dealer's room? Like, yeah, the second it opens, go in on Friday. Do like you could do your one walkthrough, but buy it's better to buy on Friday because they might run out of the thing that you want by Sunday, like those ice cream sandwiches.
Oh
Oh,
no, I forgot. You had to
oh.
bring it up.
They were there Saturday morning when we walked in, and by the time we wanted them Saturday afternoon, they were gone.
I was gunning for some free rent figures, and on our initial walkthrough, we found a few, and we said, "Oh, we don't want to carry figures around all day. We'll be back." So as we make our return after lunch, they were gone, man, all of them.
Not all of them. There was Fern and Dress and your boy Himmel the Hero.
Which I did pick up a Himmel figure, so I was happy about that. But we saw like a free Ren, we saw like a regular outfit Fern, we saw I think one Mr. Stark, and they were all gone by the time I came back around. So I was kind of bummed about that.
I was bummed at the lack of ice cream sandwiches because I've been hyping them up for a year. These ice
I
cream
was ready.
sandwiches are, I believe it's a chocolate ice cream inside, and it's a wafer cookie shell. And Turtle, did you have one with me last year or no?
I did not. You
Sh-
had one, and you said that was
Sean,
incredible.
I had one.
I was gonna say I knew one of you had it last year with me. I couldn't remember who. Yeah,
And
they
then
were
in
amazing.
yeah, and then in September last year when I went to New York, my brother took me to K Town in New York, and he said they have an Asian grocer there, and lo and behold, they had the exact same ice cream sandwich, so I got that a few
Uh,
times last year.
we did find out that the market that was selling the ice cream sandwiches they're local to Pittsburgh, so gonna have to make a road trip one weekend to get that,
Oh,
and then maybe some Kura sushi.
I'm in. Sign me
yeah,
up.
man.
I mean, we did get a different kind of ice cream sandwich, but they were not as good as last year's ice cream sandwiches. Still a wafer cookie shell. Um, I got a vanilla ice cream inside with chocolate syrup, and all you could really taste was the chocolate syrup. It pretty much tasted like Hershey syrup. Turtle, I believe you got one with red bean, right?
I did. I wanted to be a little different, so it was, the vanilla ice cream with like a layer of red bean, and it was pretty good. I enjoyed it, but I still crave the the never required sandwich that you're talking about.
Sean, you also got the chocolate syrup kind, right?
I did, yeah. It was mediocre. Um, to be fair, I think people fall into this trap. They like anime and video games from Japan, and therefore they think everything in Japan is better than everything in America. This is not the case. Uh, for example, like you get Japanese potato chips, they're just not as good. Like not even close to as good.
I don't know. I got that Texas flavored barbecue bag of chips, and my wife and I had them Sunday night, and they just tasted like meat, and it was amazing.
That's pretty cool, actually.
I was gonna ask, I forgot about that. How was that?
They were delicious. My fingers smelt like them for a couple hours. It was great. But it had a very distinct smoked meats flavor.
Interesting. On a potato chip.
Yes.
I bought myself the sweet corn turtle chips because, well, I mean, they're called turtle chips, so I have to buy it. It's a turtle product. And I did crack into them. They're interesting. They had a sour cream and onion, but again, by the time we loop back around, that was sold out. So I went with sweet corn, which corn is not my favorite thing in the world, but these are okay.
They also had a truffle flavor, I believe, of those chips, right?
They did, and I don't know if I like truffles or not, so I wasn't going to gamble on that.
Especially at $8 a pop for a bag.
Yes, it's definitely a little pricey, but it's once a year. Let me try something different. It's fine.
Before we forget about the ice cream sandwiches, they also had a green tea flavor.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll pass. Not a
I,
green tea guy.
I'm okay with green tea. I try it.
I enjoy drinking green tea. I don't know if I would enjoy eating something green tea flavored.
I, I try it.
I don't like drinking it or
Oh
eating it.
no,
Nope.
I like drinking it. I've had it hot and cold, and I enjoy it. So I would try it. Ice cream flavor, sure.
Speaking of drinking, they had the Wild Bills stand. I don't know if you guys have ever invested in one of those Wild Bills cups.
I
I'm
have
always
not.
tempted to, especially because they're always at Gen Con, but I've never done it.
Well, it's kind of odd because like if you buy the cup up front, it's actually pretty dang expensive. Like for the upfront cost, you get like free drinks all weekend with the Wild Bills soda, but if you bring it back, that cup back to another event that the Wild Bills is at, you get like unlimited soda for like a price. And I think the price this year, if you already had the cup, was $21. And I'm like, well, that's $7 a day for soda. I'm like, honestly, like over the course of a weekend, I could probably like just like buy a 6 pack of bottles and go through those. I understand it's not Wild Bill's specialty soda, but like I buy a 6 pack of Coke bottles for I don't know $7 or $8 or whatever, and just like live off of that for a few days instead of like $7 a day for soda is kind of a lot.
Yeah, you would have to be going back to that booth like all the time to make that worth it, and I just don't drink that much soda.
It was good for my wife because she actually sugar hurts her stomach, so she brought a bottle of like plain seltzer water, and she actually cuts soda sometimes, like half soda, half seltzer water. I guess that
Oh,
works for her. Um, but yeah, I guess she enjoyed that because she likes their black cherry flavor.
I do like black cherry.
And they also had the gamer sups. You guys know gamer sups?
I have friends that drink it.
I think it's just like
I've
G Fuel,
never
right?
I've never given it a try. Yeah, I feel like it's like a morning supplement aimed at gamers.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those caffeine powders that flavor caffeine powder that has like goofy names like Blowhole Blast and Anime Girl Thighs, which are real flavor names. Yes.
Well, those are names. You're I mean, you gotta, have some kinda, tagline, advertisement, so that'll do it, but that I've heard of it, but I don't do caffeine. I have real bad acid reflux, so I don't do caffeine, and, I definitely don't do energy drinks and stuff like that, so I've never tried it myself.
Yeah,
Sean,
I'm
did
always
you
worried.
they had free samples there. Did you try any of them, Sean?
Nah, I didn't need that much caffeine. I had a Baja Blast with lunch, and caffeine actually like really affects me. So like if I had that Baja Blast for lunch, like I do not need caffeine for a long time. In fact, a lot of times Mountain Dew is even like a little bit too much caffeine for me. And I actually start to like not always feel well. Um, when I have it, who'd have thought that ingesting poison like Mountain Dew would make me feel terrible?
I think I got my acid reflux because of Mountain Dew, so I totally understand.
Yeah,
I used to drink way too much of that stuff.
I just like the way Baja Blast tastes, though. Honestly, I just like it.
I do remember it, it is good. It does taste good, but it's not good for you, don't drink that much of it, just a little bit, here and there, spread out.
But other cons. I've been to other anime cons and other like general like fantasy cons and pop culture cons. And I really like Tech a lot. I feel like for the size of the con and what you pay, I think it's worth it. Especially if you take advantage of all the things like the concerts. Like yeah, they fly in guests from Japan to perform. Some of these gamer cons that I've been to, like they just have like the local guys. Like for example, not dissing them, but the Pittsburgh Gaming Expo in October. Their headliners Power Glove, and I've seen Power Glove live. It's a good show, but like you know, they're like we're a metal band who like rips off of video like old video game and TV show themes, and I'm like, yeah, I mean it's not quite as prestigious as like a band from Japan who's actually made theme songs for anime, right? So it's kind of a hype difference there, in my opinion.
For sure, I totally get it. Mike, you and I have also seen Power Glove, and they were very fun, and I would definitely see them again. But I definitely get like this is an actual band from Japan who has written theme songs that are played in anime shows that you can watch like right now and listen to right now. So it's really cool that they're you're able to bring them over to perform a concert.
That being said, when I go to the gaming expo, I'm probably gonna at least pop in for a song or two from Power Glove because I do like them. So like I said, not dissing them, but you know, a legit band from Japan. I don't know. It's just hard to compare it. But yeah, Tekko does a lot to try to make sure that they make a good show, and I really appreciate what all the staff does for to make it happen. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to cover with Tekko, but it was a nice year because last year Tekko had to kind of because of how hard they were hit by the COVID years, Tekko kind of had to like beg for money to continue operating last year. Pittsburgh Japanese Culture Society, who runs Tekko, is a 501c3 educational nonprofit. Um, not you're like, well, how can an anime con be that? And I'm like, if you like, there's a ton of education there. They were an entire room that's just like teaches you about like Japanese culture, how to make cosplay, how to make props, how to run panels. Like there's a whole education track within there, and you get to experience things you wouldn't otherwise get to experience, such as the Japanese video games, like the arcade games that they bring in. You can talk with like-minded individuals, and they're people. What makes me believe in the Tekka message is the people who have incredible amounts of anxiety, or people who, when they go out into the world, don't feel like they really belong there or have a place in this world. They come to Tekko and they realize they're with people similar to them. Uh, Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, they're misfits there. There are people who are awkward socially. There are people with disabilities, and they can go to the anime con and be themselves, and not worry about being judged by other people. And I think that if you go out of your house pretty much once a year into a crowd, and you choose that one thing to be the anime con, there's nothing wrong with that. And if the anime con every year is the one thing you look forward to, then there's nothing wrong with that because you have something to look forward to. And I think if one of the reasons I like the fundraiser, I'm very happy was successful, is because there are definitely people who have that kind of problem, and to see the convention go away would be a detriment to a large number of those people in this city and in the surrounding area. So um, I think that conventions like this, not just anime cons, but gaming conventions and comic book conventions, and just general pop culture conventions, are very important to a city's community because it gives a lot of misfits a place to go to be themselves for a weekend and forget their problems, and that alone can do wonders for someone's mental health. Just having something to look forward to.
Absolutely agree. I mean, I for one do not like large crowds of people. I tend to be rather antisocial, and I had a blast. I had a lot of fun just hanging out with you guys and a couple of other of our friends who were there, and just checking out everything that was there, spending some money, buying some art, buying some figures, buying some food, and having a good time. So yeah, absolutely. If you've never done it before, check it out next year. I'm sure we will be there, and I had fun, and I can't wait to go back next year.
Yeah, very much looking forward to next year's con. Had a blast. Gets me a little warm up drill before going to Gen Con because it's usually a week or two before Gen Con. So gets me ready, gets me a little appetizer on the con life. Um, but very much looking forward to next year. Hoping that there's more attendees, there's more vendors. It continues to get bigger because it's good for the anime community in Pittsburgh, surrounding areas. It's good for the city of Pittsburgh. So fingers crossed it continues to grow. Sean, do they have dates listed for next year's Tekko yet?
I'm glad you said something. They do actually. Let me look it up. The website is tekko.us, tekko.us. The dates for next year are July 17th through the 20th. So yeah, they're already in place. That's Thursday, July 17th through the 20th, Sunday, which is a Sunday. In between them, they have the Songwa Project, which is an 18 and older convention. No, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're just going to see a bunch of porn when you go. What it just means is that it's geared towards older nerds. Sure there is some adult s content, but you just don't have to be as careful about your language or your cosplay because there aren't a bunch of kids around. And if you like drinking, they have segments like the Songwa Social where you get to hang out with a bunch of nerds and drink. And they have the what I suggest is the Taste of Japan, which I myself run. If you come to Songwa Project and you're listening to the podcast, uh, come speak with me because I help. Last year I poured the whiskey for the Taste of Japan, which was Toki whiskey, which is not a higher end brand. So I'm hoping we get something a little different this year. But we were restricted by whiskeys we could get from the hotel. We're gonna see if we can maybe work around that or get our order in earlier with the hotel because we had a hard time getting the organization to give us a budget on time last year. So yeah, the Songwa project is in February over the course of I actually think it might be the weekend right before Valentine's Day, which could be tough, or the perfect activity to bring your significant other to. So yeah, come to the Summer Project. Do Taste of Japan. Come talk to me while I pour whiskey. I want to thank you all for joining us this week as we talked about Tekka 2024. Hope you can join us next week for episode 69 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will continue our watch of Kaiju number 8 in My Hero Academia. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. Listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Anime Banter Podcast can be found on Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. Thank you all for joining, and we will talk to you next week.